Let's just imagine that fateful day in David's life when he encountered Goliath. I'm sure he got up just like any other normal day, preparing to shepherd his father's sheep, and at some point along the day he crosses a brook. The Bible says that he stooped down and chose 5 smooth stones. 5 we know represents a number of grace. These stones were for his sling, which was David's main weapon of choice in that day as a shepherd. There were always varmints and enemies that would be a threat to the flock. So later that day, we see David making his way to the front lines of the army, where his brothers are stationed. As he's speaking with his brothers, who aren't particularly excited to see him, this giant steps out from the Philistine army. He's so massive. He's so enormous and such a famous warrior that the whole army, the Bible says, the Israeli army just is trembling in their boots. And so here we have David, armed with the sling and 5 smooth stones, making his way through the Israeli army and just pushing people out of the way and getting to the front lines to accept this seemingly impossible challenge from this giant that everybody's afraid of. We have David on one side and we have Goliath on the other, and Goliath sees him and begins to cast insults, and David responds by saying, "Look, you come at me with a spear and a sword, but I come at you in the name of the Lord." And the Bible says at that moment that he puts that rock in that sling, and he actually runs with all the confidence and faith he could muster. He begins to swing that sling and release that. The Bible says that the rock hits Goliath in the forehead and sinks into his head, and the giant falls. And at that moment, such faith and confidence flood into the Israeli army that they run in the direction of the Philistine army. The Philistine army is afraid and they begin to flee. And the Bible says that the Israeli army pursues them and overtakes them, and God gives them a great victory for that day. So here we are as a church family. Like the story of David and Goliath, we've already knocked this giant down. We've defeated it with the purchase of this dream campus. Are you ready to move forward with us as we race toward this next challenge?